Yo, this is Casual Fridays with Tuja Harmonics. Today we'll be talking to Grace Barnes, also known as Grace Storm, singer, dancer, poet, vet student, actress,
All
am I
of the
missing
above.
anything? All the above.
Yeah.
Hi, Grace.
Hello. Thanks for having me here.
I'm feeling high. My money's gone. I'm all alone. Too much to do. The world is turning. Oh, what a day. What a day today. Peace and blessings manifest with every lesson learned.
Grace, what I want to ask, people might not know about this, but you told me a while back that you have non-progressive scoliosis,
Yes,
right?
that's correct.
Okay, the way I know it's scoliosis, the same as my back, is like progressively your body changes, and
Yes.
but with you it's non-progressive.
Yes.
Like, how is it non-progressive?
I went through physical shock, which is the result of shifting my spine. So I only have just a slight curve in my lumbar section of my spine. Therefore, it's not really getting worse. I mean, it could if I wasn't taking care of it, but at this point, it's stable. So when I was diagnosed, at the time I was playing rugby, which was my favorite sport, and I was advised to stop playing. I was also advised to stop dancing and to stop basically every physical activity that I could possibly put strain on my back. And as a result, I obviously didn't listen to them because I still continued with my passion for dancing. So yeah.
And now it's your major at university.
It is my major at university. I don't regret continuing with it. It was a tough road to take and very challenging, but in my fourth and final year of it, so I'm still happy. It's an ongoing process. It's still difficult. As a result, I get injured a lot because my body is off proportion. So like my hips are not in proportion. So I've had 2 hip flexor injuries. I've dislocated both my ankles. So as a result, I'm injured a lot. But I think I'm also it takes courage in terms of training. So you also have to be disciplined with continuously strengthening my back specifically so that I can be able to carry the rest of my body during performances and such.
The dance that you do, how would it fit in the career that you choose in South Africa?
I'm majoring in physical theatre, or what's known as dance theatre, and then I'm also doing drama therapy, which is very closely linked to movement therapy. And it is a career choice in terms of going into being a drama therapist or a movement therapist, where you actually assist clients, if I could put it that way, who are dealing with traumatic experiences or who have gone through life issues. And it's just, I think, an alternative way of expressing those emotions and dealing with them, apart from having to talk with a therapist. Because I know, me personally, I wouldn't like talking about my issues. And for me, dance is my safe space of really discovering myself and dealing with issues that I've been through, even dealing with my disability, which I don't like to call it that, but just dealing with that and how it's actually built my courage into continuing with what I'm doing. So career-wise, I'm also interested in choreography and telling stories through body, through movement. I really believe that, movement and words, put together is a very strong thing. And I think for me, choreographing pieces that speak back to this idea of a disability or functions of what stops you as a human being, and how do you break past that? How do you push through society's notion of saying, you can't do this? So I just really want to put out a message or stories of encouraging and really just, pushing people out there. It's very powerful how movement can really tell stories without words, and for me that's really the basis. Also, when, like it says, when words fail, music speaks, but I also believe that when words fail, the movement speaks, so body speaks as well. And a lot of people can relate to it because we all have a physical body, but with that there's an emotional attachment to it. So being able to tell stories through movement and having it relate to someone on an emotional level or mental level is really something else for me.
How would you say the difference is between a able-bodied dancer and a disabled dancer? Because when we saw you dancing, I didn't notice any impairment.
It's a very good question. A lot of people don't know about my condition, and I try not to put it out there. But I think I always say that a physical disability only goes as far as your mental disability. And for me, the reason why I continued with dancing is I didn't want to listen to the no of what everyone is saying, that you can't do this, you can't do this. And I think the challenges in that is I also have to know my limits as my body, because nobody really understands the constraints it takes and how much pain I go through. So I will sometimes go through a whole routine just like everybody else's, but I will suffer the consequences of the back pains or my hip being hurt. And I think it's just an issue of a personal matter of me knowing what my limits are, and if I'm willing to succeed those limits, do I want to go beyond that, you know? And I think the difference in that context, if you could see me next to someone else, I try not to be different in showing that, look, this is my problem. So I think it comes with training. It definitely comes with training and a lot of hard work for me to get to that point of being able to move like anybody else. It's just the constraints and the suffering afterwards is what nobody gets to see. But it's also dedication and commitment to, you know, what you're doing in general that makes it seem like I'm fine.
You're busy with something for your honors, for your final exam?
For my final exam for physical theatre, I am focusing on the body. So my body as a source of departure or a point of departure for my concept. And I was really just concerned with society's perceptions on how a body should be. It's not just specifically a dancer's body, but people would look at me and I'd say, you know, I'm a dancer, and they say, you don't look like a dancer. And I'm saying, so what is a dancer supposed to look like? And for me, I say, if you can walk, you can dance. If you may be terrible at it, but you can still move. And for me, that really bothered me for a while, of the perception that people have on somebody else's body and how someone is supposed to look, even in general society, even if you're not a dancer, and how that impacts you as a person, because then you start having a personal view of yourself. And for a long time, I, for myself, accepting my body as this is my body as a dancer's body took a very long time, and it's still in process. But just standing up to the notion of I don't have to be a certain way to fit somebody else's view, and if you're happy with where you are and it's getting you to where you want to be, then there's no reason to change. So I'm really focusing on the notion of pushing past the no, and how far would you go to get a yes, and if you don't get a yes, do you still keep going on? So that's what I'm focusing on for my honors.
If you could change anything in the world, anything in a split second, what would it be?
On the top of my head, it would be society's judgment on each other. And I think not just from a point of being a disabled body, but in general, I think self is very important for me. And I think if everybody could just look to themselves first before looking at another person in a certain way, I would definitely change the concept that people have, that they have the right to an opinion on somebody else's life or the way they live or their disability or whatever it may be. So that's what I would change right now in a split second. Yeah.
Thank you, Grace, for the interview. Anything you'd like to say? Final words?
Thank you for having me. It's been quite an experience talking about it, so thank you very much.
Thank you, Grace. We'll see you on next week for Casual Fridays.